I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird. All right, something else I wanted to talk about here, or at least something else I wanted to watch today, is the expansion that broke Classic WoW. NIXXIOM, very famous content creator. Everybody, everybody knows him in the WoW space, or at least everybody that's on YouTube knows him in the WoW space. My final thoughts on Wrath. So let's see what he's talking about here.
Found myself out in the woods in the middle of the night. And you're probably wondering, NIXXIOM, how the heck did you get here? Don't worry, because I am going to show you, but I must warn you that today's video is going to be a bit of a sad one.
Is he gonna record the entire episode in his woods? Oh my god, he is. What a fucking G. That's so weird. I respect it though.
Have you ever dreamed about something for a really long time, and then you
Yep.
finally get that something,
Yep.
but you just end up hurt because the thing that you
Yep. Because people think that the game was different when it wasn't, and also people that are playing it have a very retail mentality, right? Like I played Classic, I played TBC, and I played Wrath, like the re-released versions. I also played TBC and Wrath back when it was actually released. And they're wildly different because people are just different now.
had hoped for ended up being completely not what you expected. That was Wrath of the Lich King Classic, guys. For
Yeah, it was. I rated at the start of Wrath Classic anyway, and I just couldn't be bothered to continue because I didn't like where the expansion was going, and you know they added in all this. I don't remember what it's called, but all this catch-up stuff in the form of dungeons. Except if you're not like consistently raiding, you can't even get into the catch-up dungeons. It's so bizarre.
for me, for a lot of people, probably you guys even watching this. In this video, I want it to be my last video on Wrath Classic. I just
Okay.
want to share some conclusive thoughts on this reimagining of
By the way, I was part of the people that was very excited about Wrath Classic. Because that was the expansion where I actually started raiding. Like, I don't even think in TBC I hit max level, to be honest. I played as a hunter. You know, a lot of people started as hunters. Like, a lot of people started as hunters. Night Elf Hunter. And I think during TBC I only got to like the 50s. But in Wrath, I mean, I raided in Wrath. So I have very heavy nostalgia for this expansion. And looking back to me actually playing Wrath Classic, I mean, it was fun with the people that I played with, but it's such a different game than it was then. One, because of the mentality of gamers, but also, like, the game is just made differently. The devs have added in more things, which I don't think is a bad thing to do. I think it's just the things they added in are bad.
my favorite World of Warcraft expansion and talk about really just that the
I think it's a
big
lot of
reasons
people's favorite.
why Wrath Classic didn't play out the way that
And kind of this is maybe the reason I'm not overly excited about Kata Classic. Because I rated in Wrath, but I really rated in Kata. Like I did harder content in Kata. Um like I killed Heroic Rag in Kata. In like when it was current content, I killed Heroic Rag. Which is a far difference in what I was doing in Wrath. And I'm not excited for the Kata release at all because I don't have faith, not necessarily faith in the developers, but I don't have faith in the community to make it what it was.
we had hoped.
I also have a pretty major announcement.
This is partly due to the um, the usage of add-ons as well. It's just vastly different.
That I will be making at the end of this video. but we'll get there. Right now,
And the min-max
let's
culture
just
is
talk
just different
about
as well.
Wrath of the Lich King.
Now look, I do want to make
Like, as long as you could, you know, be on the damage meters in Wrath, you could clear the content. Minus maybe a few bosses that people had issue with mechanically, but like as long as you could appear on the damage meter, you could get through most of the content.
a few things absolutely clear. Wrath of the Lich King is awesome. Death Knights, Northrend, the Lich King Tuskar Penguins. Just listening to even a few seconds of its soundtrack sends me right back to my childhood. I absolutely love it. And when we hopped onto that,
The Wrath music is some of the best music I personally think Blizzard has put out. Unironically, I think the Wrath music is some of the best music they've ever put out. I think there's a couple close contenders, but the Wrath music is so good.
that boat to go to Northrend yet again in 2022, I fell in love all over again. And everybody else did too.
Yeah, I was really happy with Wrath at the start. Until they started putting in things that I didn't really care for. Which is fine. You don't have to enjoy everything a game puts out. But it's not the developer's fault either, it's the community. The community is what ruined Wrath for me.
This expansion was on fire with love and enthusiasm from
And it's the same with Classic as well. I didn't enjoy playing Classic as much as I thought I would have because of the community, not because of the developers.
the players, from the developers. But suddenly, things started to go downhill. All that hype just seemed to vanish. And what were the reasons that happened?
The reasons were because if you weren't min-maxing Wrath of the Lich King Nax, then you weren't invited. Like, if you weren't BIS by the second week, you were kicked from your guild. It was so bizarre because we killed multiple bosses in Nax, multiple people short, multiple times a week. Or, sorry, multiple times throughout the weeks. Yet people still wanted BIS and only the BIS classes and only etc, etc, etc. And you know, I was one of the meta classes. I played Holy Pally, but I've played Holy Pally as a main since, I mean, really since Kata. Like, my main to this day is still a Holy Pally. So that's the obvious choice whether it was meta or not.
But real fast, everybody, before we talk about Wrath of the Lich King, we do have to thank this video's sponsor, Luck Catchers 2. Link
I thought it was
down
gonna
below
be
in the
War
description. Luck
War
Catchers
Thunder.
2 over on Steam. It is a socio-economic MMO set in a vast world of magic, dragons, and flying jaw-dropping ships. In this world, you'll be building cities, finding rare resources, forming alliances, and best of
That's
all,
cool.
doing battle with pirates. Build
That's cool.
industrial
Fucking
empires to
space
dominate
pirates,
the
that's
world,
cool.
lead pirate rampages, or participate in races and drag.
Can you be the pirates? Can you go down and kill a bunch of people as the pirates? Or is it like just the pirates are AI?
Hunts. Really just shape your journey to whatever you want in this game's absolutely massive world. With a huge amount of character customization, territories to explore and capture, as well as
That is nuts.
with
Hold
a
on.
huge amount of character customization,
Look at all
territories
those
to explore
missiles
and
coming
capture,
out. That's
as well
nuts.
as battles set on airships, there is something in Luck Catchers 2 to catch, pun, the attention of any would-be adventurer. Guys, if you're looking for a new game set in a rich fantasy world, if you've been dying for a game full of rich conflict and insanely deep character customization and an open world to
I mean, I don't know how insanely deep it is just based off of graphical fidelity, right? But it seems like the thing on screen right now has 11 balloons.
explore of over 1 million square kilometers full of guilds, cities, and settlements and
Sure.
engaging events to discover, then
Sure.
Luck Catchers 2 might just be your next big adventure. Click the link down below in the description right now and enjoy, everybody, and be sure to use code NIXX to unlock some free in-game items. You will not
Luck
be
Catchers
disappointed.
2.
Now, let's go out in the woods and talk about Wrath of the Lich King.
Alright, let's get into it.
The
Let's see
first
why Wrath
reason
sucks.
is actually Dragonflight.
For those of you
Okay.
guys that weren't there, Shadowlands was coming to an end.
I'm not sure where he's going to go with this, but I kind of already agree. Is the ideas behind Dragonflight, I think, pushed away a lot of would-be people that would have went to Wrath. And Wrath was wildly successful as far as I understand. Obviously, they don't have numbers, but even just logging into Wrath, I mean, I could log into Wrath right away and trade would be spammed with garbage. So much more so than what's in Dragonflight. But I think it would have been bigger had Dragonflight been more successful just by proxy of more people playing that could have went over to Wrath, right?
World of Warcraft's worst expansion by a long mile, and nobody had faith that Blizzard was actually going to pull off a
Was Shadowlands worse? Was Shadowlands the worst expansion? Was Shadowlands worse than WoD? Was Shadowlands worse than WoD? I had more fun in Shadowlands than I did in WoD. Like, let's be honest here for a second. Partially because I didn't play WoD because I had no fucking content. But, you know.
successful follow-up expansion because of just how bad Shadowlands was. Even though Blizzard announced that Dragonflight was...
I think the beginning of Shadowlands sucked, right? Like when they said that, oh, we can't do this thing, and then they said, yeah, we can do it. LOL. I mean, that was really weird. But they also, to be fair to Blizzard, right? They had a lot of other issues happening at that time. And they made a lot of adjustments because people were leaving to other games. But I mean, come on, they also had other major issues they were dealing with that people didn't want to actually develop the game for. And I'm sure, I mean, there's been videos on this, I'm sure company morale was at an all-time low, right? You don't want to work at a company that's having scandals, nor do you want to create good content for a company that's having scandals. I think that's true across the board.
It's gonna come out a mere 2 months after Wrath of the Lich King Classic would be released. There was really no fear. Blizzard couldn't pull off a good expansion good enough to dethrone the one true king. Or could they?
Dragonflight was a pretty solid expansion. It wasn't mind-blowing. It wasn't the bringing back the golden age of World of Warcraft. No, none of that.
No, but Dragonflight did make a lot of good changes, right? And you can't... It's going to take them a few expansions to really make the game good. You can't... Yeah. I think you're not being honest with yourself if you think that they can entirely turn around an entire game within one expansion. Because it takes a long time to change systems that are ingrained into the player base. One of the changes I really hope that they make, and maybe I'm the minority in this, I hope they get rid of a lot of the bloat. I know they've done this before and people didn't like it, but I really hope they get rid of a lot of the bloat that's kind of consuming WoW at the moment. Like, why does every single class and every single spec, like, why do you need a fucking PhD to play Arcane Mage? Why is that a thing? Why can't you just press Arcane Blast, Arcane Barrage, Arcane Missiles, Arcane Explosion? Like, why does it need to be, like, I don't know, you guys remember Arcane in Wrath? Arcane in Wrath is Arcane Explosion? Or, sorry, it's Arcane Blast? And that's it. Like, at least in original Wrath, that was basically it. I don't know what Arcane Mages were doing in classic Wrath, but like in original Wrath, because I played an Arcane Mage for a little bit just to try and screw around with it, just as a spec that I didn't actually have to think, because you didn't have to think, is you just pressed, all you did was press Arcane Blast, that's it. And then you got gear, and then you were the top DPS. That's all you did. And then I remember playing Arcane in, what the fuck's it called? Tomb of Sargeras. I played Arcane Mage for a bit. Well, I was a Fire Mage main at the time. And then I was playing Arcane just for a little bit, just to try it out. And even in Legion, it was so overcomplicated, at least from what I remember. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I mean, Fire is just so much more enjoyable.
but it was a good expansion and people were having fun playing it. And because of that, the Wrath of the Lich King population began to suffer as people moved from Wrath over into Dragonflight. And so when they went to Dragonflight,
That's definitely true. But I don't know. So here's the thing, right? Is that people who are going to play Wrath are going to play Wrath. The people who are going to play Dragonflight who were playing Wrath were going to leave regardless of what the next expansion was, because it's the new expansion and because they're retail players. But the people who are going to play Wrath were going to play Wrath regardless of what the next expansion was.
really, they didn't come back to re-experience the rest of Wrath of the Lich King. Not everybody minded.
Which is perfectly fine, because the only reason they were playing Wrath to begin with is because they wanted to continue playing WoW.
But the fact that Dragonflight had done so well with its launch was really the first reason why Wrath of the Lich King began to suffer a little bit. So right here along the trail, you can see that there is a...
Yeah, began to suffer a bit, I think is a reasonable thing to say. Because it definitely suffered, but again, the people who were going to play it were going to play it regardless of what the next expansion was, or if it was good or bad. I mean, they might have logged over to try it out for a bit, but they were probably going back to Wrath anyways.
A perfect example of a little elf home. And it's said that in little places like these, that apparently little...
Wouldn't it be crazy if like a little person just started running out of there? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Forest spirits tend to live.
Like
sometimes
there's like a whole community like in the entire tree. Do you know how much money you would make putting that out on like Twitter? Do you know how many interviews you would have, like capturing the first tree elves?
if you look inside, you might be able to see one. The second reason why Wrath
Or they're gonna rip your fucking face off because they're like, what the fuck is this? Ah.
of the Lich King Classic failed is because of something I think a lot of us really loved, and that would be hardcore Classic WoW. Classic WoW hardcore.
Maybe I'm wrong in this. A lot of people, myself included, played hardcore WoW just until they died, and very, very few people, I think, stuck it out. Obviously, there was videos surrounding it and everything, and a lot of content creators were playing hardcore WoW because that was the content to be made at the time, and a lot of people watched it because they were hoping they would die, but they weren't actually playing it themselves. Like, I played hardcore up until like level 30 or 40 until I died. And that was it. Like, the whole thing was I was going to play it until I die and, you know, move on with my life, go do something else. But I think hardcore was something that people wanted without actually wanting it. You know what I mean? Like, they wanted the idea of it. But they didn't actually want to play it and play it and play it and play it. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, how many people are playing hardcore now?
It was just a fan-made and fan-supported game mode of playing classic World of Warcraft.
And the difference is, I think more people played the other version because you could kind of cheat it, right? Like, the only thing holding you to that was the add-on, but add-ons can be deleted. You know what I mean? I think a Blizzard ran server, again, I think a lot of people just played it until they died and stopped.
This movement just blew up, and everyone and their mom, including yours truly, I'm as guilty of it as any, everybody was playing classic WoW hardcore. It was just a jump. We went from Wrath of the Lich King to Dragonflight.
At the beginning, yeah, but again, I think most of those people were just going to play it until they died, myself included.
To classic hardcore.
Maybe I'm wrong.
At this point, Wrath of the Lich King had kind of just been left in the dust. Dragonflight had stolen a lot of its population. Classic WoW hardcore had stolen a lot of its population. In fact, hardcore became so popular in the community that Blizzard released their very own version of classic hardcore, which even further hurt the Wrath of the Lich King population. Because this is where everybody was...
So there is an issue that happens when you have so many versions of a game that no version of the game is popular. Right? Which is good for the company. Which is good for the company because you have people that are subscribed or who are playing who wouldn't otherwise be playing. And Ian even said it himself, is that there are better... What the fuck did he say? There are better ways to look at metrics than player count. Was it Ian that said that? I can't remember who said that. But there are better ways to look at how successful something is than engagement. And obviously you're talking about money. And obviously the more versions of something you have, the wider audience appeal you have, which means you bring in more money. But I think the other versions of the game suffered because of it.
Playing at the time. And of course, everybody wants to follow the crowd, you know, the big gaming tidal wave. And this is where everybody was. Everybody was playing classic hardcore. And it was a ton of fun, leveling up, the tournaments, all of it. But we can't deny that it was the second reason why Wrath of the Lich King suffered so much. But it wasn't the biggest reason.
Sure.
What's up, dude? Mountain bikers.
Just some random guy.
Point
He's probably looking at him like, what kind of fucking weirdo walks on a trail with a camera out?
number 3, guys. Point number 3. I know you guys have been waiting for this one.
Michael, I have a question for you. What was the primary reason that led to the death of Wrath of the Lich King Classic?
Fucking bots, dude.
That's right.
Bots. Wrath of the Lich King was polluted with bots pretty much all throughout its lifespan.
You know what else is polluted with bots? Is retail. You know what else is polluted with bots? Is OSRS. So I'm not 100% sure I agree.
Which gave to the expansion and to classic WoW a horrendous...
And bots aren't even the issue. RMT is. Because if RMT didn't exist, which by the way they'll never be able to rid, there would be less bots or no bots.
Reputation
that is
among
just
the greater
factually
player
correct.
base, and even people.
How can you be Blizzard and not see this? Right? And there's a lot of theories that they don't want to actually ban because then they lose money. But they're losing money from actual players because of bots. So I'm so confused as to what their internal plan is. Obviously nobody's gonna know. But I'm so confused as to what their internal plan is. Because again, the more bots you ban, the less money you make. And it's not like they have to pay full box price for Wrath because all you need is a sub. That's all you need to play Wrath is a sub. So, I don't know, man. Like, obviously nobody is ever going to know exactly what their internal thought process is, but...
People that weren't even playing World of Warcraft. Why would you play a game that was overrun with bots? Of course you guys have probably seen the videos of all the bot death knights running around. It was horrendous.
Yeah, bots in BGs is a serious issue. I agree.
And the sad thing is that bots were a problem in Hardcore Classic when that came out. They were a problem in...
Obviously, because people are going to buy gold regardless. And by the way, this is kind of why Blizzard internally thought that the WoW token would work. But here's the issue. I don't know if anybody has ever been on those on those gold buying sites, but you can get stuff a lot cheap. And by the way, I'm not saying go buy gold. I'm just saying you can get stuff substantially cheaper than from Blizzard, right? Blizzard is not against RMT, they're against not making money.
Season of Discovery, and only recently, only with the recent Phase 2 patch of SOD, are we seeing Blizzard implementing software to actually fight these bots, like new software to detect these bots, to detect these gold farmers, and get them out of the game. But
Okay, so what happens when they just change their software? Like, what happens when they just look at something and be like, all right, this is how we get around it, and then they just do that? As opposed to, I don't know, hiring people that can look at this stuff. Like, how much with software like that, how much money, and then the upkeep of that versus just having people that could go around, even like 5 people, like 5 Blizzard employees per server, and their whole job is to just get rid of bots. Because it's so easy. Even 2 people per server, you could cleanse bots.
Wrath of the Lich King suffered from this crap since almost the very beginning, which just made it such a sour game to play for so many people. And speaking of bullshit, that's coyote poop.
That's
And
disgusting.
a lot of it.
Yeah, that's
All
gross.
right, Sterling, I know you're busy, but I got a question.
So,
Why did you end up quitting Wrath of the Lich King Classic?
WoW token.
A WoW token.
No, why not?
So it's a little
I think that's a pretty good reason to not play. Because for the average person that doesn't have a guild that they're in, right? For the average person that doesn't have a consistent group, your only way is to pug, except pugs don't really exist, right? Like, you either get into groups that you have to pay for gear with gold, which, by the way, the prices are heavily inflated because of the WoW token and because of bots, or you don't get to raid, or you have to set a time hours per week fighting bosses, and fucking Timmy dies to the same fucking mechanic every week. Or you pay real money to play a game that you're already paying real money for. It's, I don't know, man.
Bit dark out here now, fellas, as you can see. I know there's a lot of people out there that tend to get very frustrated when the subject of the WoW token comes up. There are people out there that genuinely support it, that don't see anything wrong with it, but the WoW token is, admittingly, the fourth big reason, probably one of the biggest reasons why so many people left the game. Admittingly,
I think here's my take on this, and I'm a nobody, so who gives a fuck what my take is. If they could do the WoW token in a way where you could only pay gold, and this will never happen because this means that Blizzard loses money. If you could only pay gold to increase your sub without the option of somebody buying it with real money to give themselves gold, I think the WoW token would be a resounding success, and I think everybody would love it. Like, I think that's fairly obvious, right? But just the fact that Blizzard's fight against bots and RMT is to put in their own RMT, which, by the way, like, bots are still doing this for WoW tokens, right? So they can get free game time, because why wouldn't you? And bots are just cheaper to buy from. So Blizzard, in a weird way, actually helped the WoW community because they made buying gold cheaper because of competition.
the WoW token is actually what made me leave Wrath of the Lich King, and a lot of my friends. The biggest problem was just the fact that
It's hard to agree with that if you didn't also quit retail.
Blizzard said that they were not going to put the WoW token into Wrath Classic. But then when the bots and the gold farmers were just running rampant in Classic WoW, it's just Blizzard, instead of investing money into creating new technology to fight this bot problem, instead all they did
Again,
is they
you
decided,
literally don't need new tech. You just need 2 or 3 Blizzard employees and their entire job, right? You could even pay them like very little. you could have them work as work from home, right? Give them some sort of software to check, make sure they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. Which, by the way, isn't hard. That software has existed forever. That software has existed since I was a kid. You could pay them like 20, 25 bucks an hour, which is substantially less than most people are making at Blizzard because they work in fucking California. And if they were making 25 bucks an hour, they couldn't afford their lattes. They can completely fix this entire bot issue. Like, you don't need software. You need 2 or 3 people per server whose entire job it is to eradicate bots. And by the way, I firmly believe that would completely fix the issue. 100%. How wouldn't it? If your average person who looks for bots kind of as a joke for 20 minutes of the day can find all of them, then someone who's working 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day, whose entire goal is to find bots, you could fix that issue. Like, this isn't something that's a crazy idea to think about.
They wanted a cut of that pie. That's how it was perceived by the greater community. Instead of fighting the bots with new software, they would just fight them by taking a cut of their profit.
Yeah, obviously, except the other issue happens as well, where buying gold from these websites just gets cheaper, so it doesn't. It actually helps people who are already buying gold because they can just get it cheaper now. Like, you're indirectly helping, you're directly helping people who are already doing RMT. Which, by the way, inflates prices in the game. Because if you're spending 50 bucks on gold before the WoW token, well, imagine now what 50 bucks can get you now that prices have dropped substantially. Because they have to be cheaper than the WoW token. Otherwise, nobody would go to the bot websites.
By making it possible to buy gold in Classic WoW for the very first time. The WoW token really was the 4th major reason why so many people left Wrath of the Lich King Classic behind, and it's why Wrath Classic didn't do as well as we had hoped. And now, if you don't mind, there is a fort out here in the woods that I'm gonna go hang out in for a little bit. It's just a happy little, relaxing, comfortable fort in the woods. Let's head on in, shall we? Actually has 2 rooms. You've got like this entry room here, and then you've got this
got a fucking string
side room over here. Pretty cool, huh? Got like this little table here, and it's nice. Friends, this is what I do for fun when I'm not playing WoW. I go out in the woods and I hang out in creepy.
What about bears and stuff, man? Like, do you have bears where you live? Do you have like any animals that could fucking come and attack you? It's too much. Like, he doesn't even look like he has protective. I mean, maybe he does, but it doesn't look like he has protection on him.
Forts in the middle of the night. All right. So we've made it to the end of the video, and I said at the beginning that I was going to make a pretty big announcement.
Okay.
I admit it's a little bit difficult for me to talk about.
Okay.
I'm still recovering.
Okay.
For those of you that have been watching the channel for a very long time, especially the streams, you're probably aware that I have a dog named Lucy who's been a part of the vlogs and the live streams for a very long time. A little over a week ago, she started suffering from heart failure, and she was coughing up blood.
Okay.
And we had to put her down.
Oh, no.
And so the reason why I was out in the woods today with this video was actually to gather pine cones.
That is truthfully sad. And I do, my heart does go out to NIXXIOM. That does really feel bad. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, doggo.
Stones, moss, just really anything that I could find to decorate her grave site, which is in the backyard behind me. I've been working with a Dremel tool lately, kind of getting familiar with using it, and so I carved for her a tombstone, and you can see that I've decorated the space with...
It might be worse. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this. It might be worse to lose something that you just brought in, like a puppy, than something that you have had the opportunity to grow with. maybe I'm wrong with saying this, and maybe not a lot of people are going to agree with me, but that's fine. Or maybe anybody's not going to agree with me because, you know, who the fuck am I? When you bring in a new family member like that, you have the expectation that you're going to be able to grow old. You're going to have the opportunity to do all of these things, right? You're going to, the expectation is that you're going to have a companion for the years to come. Whereas losing something that you have had those opportunities with is hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. It is hard, and for some people it may be worse. But your expectations were met, right? So I don't know, man. Like, it is obviously hard, and I'm not trying to discount. I'm not trying to discount those people who have had an animal that they have had the opportunity to grow with and have had for a long time, and then have had pass away. But just from a realistic standpoint, your expectations were met, right? Like, you had the expectation to grow old, to have fun, to have a family member, and hopefully you had given that animal or whatever you happen to be talking about a good life and a good existence. But you did, hopefully, the best of your ability to keep that animal good. But when you have a new thing like that come into your life and your expectations are taken from you, I think that is, at least for me, would be harder to get over, and it'd be harder to move on from that. For me personally.
Some moss and some white stone that I found, and I'll put some flowers there soon, and I'll put those pine cones that I gathered out in the woods out there. But I just wanted to make that announcement, just to let you guys know, for those of you guys that were fans of Lucy just like me. In conclusion, those are the reasons why Wrath of the Lich King really just ended up being so...
Again, rest in peace, and I do feel bad for NIXXIOM, because I do understand that is hard. I do get it.
Disappointing for a lot of us.
That
but
sucks,
for those
man.
of you guys that stuck around and kept playing, you kept on course despite all the ups and downs that the expansion was experiencing. I hope that you guys had a great time. Wrath of the Lich King is almost over. Cataclysm Classic is on the way, and we'll see how it does.
We'll see how Kata does. Yeah, I don't have a lot of super high hopes for it. This is also maybe a video to watch. I don't have super high hopes for it just because of kind of what had happened throughout Wrath, through all the botting issues, through the content decisions that they did make throughout the game. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, right? Damn, I have to go to the bathroom again, so I'll be back in a second. So yeah, it is a good video. I don't fully agree with everything. I think there's other issues with it that, you know, he didn't really touch on, or maybe he thought personally it wasn't a huge issue, but those are definitely what I think. And again, who the fuck cares what I think, right? But I mean, who cares what any? What the fuck is happening out there, man? Who cares what any content creator really says? Like, remember that content creators are just random people sitting in front of a camera, right? Content creators are not important people. They're not. They're just random people sitting in front of a camera. And by the way, I'm not saying that because I'm a nobody. I'm saying that because really, you know, content creators aren't doing anything, right?
The year is 2020.
10 days ago, Blizzard is worse than you thought. Big boss. Let's see.